Once upon a time, in a quiet suburb, I lived next to the most entitled family you could imagine. The Bransons, let's call them that, seemed to believe that what was mine was theirs, especially when it came to my prized vegetable garden. Mrs. Branson, the epitome of entitlement, would send her kids over to borrow my ripe tomatoes, crisp cucumbers, and sweet strawberries whenever they pleased, without a thought to ask permission. I tried discussing boundaries with Mrs. Branson, but to no avail. It was as if my words were seeds sown on barren land yielding nothing. The situation escalated one summer. After months of labor and love, my garden was a bountiful Eden, a source of pride and joy. Yet the Smiths' pilfering grew more brazen, stripping my garden before I could even enjoy the fruits of my labor. It was then I hatched a plan, one that would teach them a lesson in respect and boundaries. I began by installing a small, inconspicuous camera, cleverly disguised within the garden decor. It captured the Smith kids in the act, baskets in hand, gleefully harvesting my garden as if it were their own. Armed with evidence, I approached Mr. and Mrs. Branson, expecting outrage, apologies, perhaps even compensation. Instead, Mrs. Branson accused me of setting a trap for her innocent angels, claiming I'd enticed them with my garden's allure. Undeterred, I launched phase 2 of my plan. I had learned of a community gardening competition, with categories for the most creative and productive gardens. Seizing the opportunity, I enlisted the neighborhood's help, transforming my garden into a fortress of community spirit. High fences were erected, and a new, more secure gate installed, all adorned with signs promoting our entry into the competition. The garden became a hub of activity, with neighbors pitching in, sharing advice, seeds, and camaraderie. The day of the competition arrived, and our garden, a testament to unity and hard work, was lauded by all. We won first place for community engagement, a victory that was sweetened by the sight of the Smiths watching from their window, excluded from the festivities by their own actions. In the aftermath, Mrs. Branson attempted to smooth things over, feigning interest in participating in future community projects. But the neighborhood had seen the true colors of the Smith family, and their invitations were politely declined. My garden was no longer a target for their entitlement. Instead, it had become a symbol of community strength, a barrier against the selfishness of entitled neighbors. This tale, while seemingly small in the grandeur of life's dramas, reminds us of the importance of respect, boundaries, and the power of community. It's a story that asks us to consider how far are we willing to go to protect what's ours from the clutches of entitlement? And more importantly, how can we turn a personal grievance into a collective triumph? Have you ever faced a similar situation where you had to stand up to someone's entitlement? How did you handle it, and what was the outcome? Share your stories below.